Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome to the first FAF community podcast. I have with me in channel today BC's Napalm. Say hello, Napalm.
Hello.
And the one and only Colonel, the UES Sheppard. Say hello, Sheppard.
Hello.
And of course, the unmistakable washed one, the tournament director of the world-famous Revolution Trophy, Brainwashed. Say hello, Washy.
Hello.
To do a couple of things today, we'll be rounding off the cast, but before we do that, we're going to have a little bit of an interview, which Sheppard is going to take us through, lead on from that, and he's going to ask a few questions, put a few questions to Washy there about the world-famous Tourney. So, Sheppard, over to you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. So, Revolution Tourney, that's something, I think like 130 people signed up, and it's probably the main tourney of this year, or at least of this year so far. So, we were all pretty excited when we heard this idea that Nubia teams could actually win pro teams because there was a overall team ranked restriction. It's basically very complicated if you read it the first time. But, say, Washi, how do you get to such an idea? I mean, does that just fall from heaven?
You could say so. It was Brainfart's idea, and one day he just popped up at my home and said, okay, I got an idea, maybe we should think about it. And yeah, it was about the rating restriction for a tourney and sending people according to this. And so we made a draft on how to send people, how to do this, and yeah, we launched it about a week later.
So that was your first tournament you ever launched?
Yes.
So, Washi, I would like to know, out of all the teams that signed up, which is your favorite team?
Oh, I'm not sure if you could call a team favorite in this case, because this tourney is made to be winnable by everyone. Usually you say, okay, there's a 2 versus 2 team, and I know these two players are extraordinarily strong, and okay, they will win anyway. Like this, and we wanted to break this rule. And we tried something, so I can't really say who's my favorite in this case, because the teams are different strengths, and on different maps, and of course, different rating limits, so I don't know, yeah.
Let's ask it another way. What's your favorite name of a team, if you can't say what's the favorite team?
Really no, Brainfart's favorite one was the in Soviet FAF, the noob slaps you. And he said, okay, I really want this team to go to the KO stage. Yeah, I think that's a really funny name.
Who was in that team?
Oh, I got this up. I can't really keep all the team in my mind.
Yeah, well, my favorite name actually was the strip biologist Taunters from Voodoo. Yeah, well, there's actually a wiki page about the strip biologist Taunters. They do really exist, so not just Voodoo's idea. So, what are the current standings then? I mean, we all read the forums more or less, and we all see, oh, well, the group phase is finished if there was something called a group stage. And how will it go on?
I hope to get... yeah, it's basically mostly in the KO tree now. Only the tiebreaker games, which should have finished yesterday, but unfortunately they weren't played. I don't know why, maybe it was because of bad time management. However, I hope to finish the first KO tree round by this week, and to get all the others, I think 1 round per 2 weeks, or round per 1 week. We'll finish this in less than 2 months, I hope.
Yeah, okay. But that's actually a problem. We also wanted to talk about that. There are so many teams signed up, but in the end, I think maybe it's like 10 teams, or let's say at best 15 teams really playing their matches, or in the KO tree now and have played at least some matches. Why is this? Is this just the fault of the time zones, or is it maybe more like the fault because there are more Nubia players? I mean, if you got the Imber Cup and all the stuff, there are only Voodoos and Lucians, which are basically always online because they have too much time, or at least they are very trustful if it is about tourneys. Is that a problem, or is it only the time zones?
Well, it was something that wasn't considered right in the beginning. I think maybe it's a mix of everything, to say so. Of course, there are up to 8 players in a team game. This means a huge problem with just one player dropping out. Getting 8 players online with different time zones and a limited time of 1 or 2 weeks is very hard sometimes, and maybe one hasn't the time or is ill or I don't know, has something to do at this time, and all the others have to wait. I think it's, as I said, it's a mix of so many players in one game, different time zones, people from all around the world.
Do you think that, in fact, it would be possible if there would be enough people to, let's say, push the people that have to play, or if the people that have to play would actually talk more with each other?
I think it would help a bit if people would really talk to each other and say, okay, I can't play this day, but let's try then, and I'll try to make some free space. But it wouldn't really help to really push people all the time, because I think if you would do this, they would either get angry or something. And, well, it's a tourney, it's a game. It's not, well, it shouldn't be more important than real life, I think. But,
yeah, of course.
Yes.
And, I mean, I think somebody on this the forum suggested, I forgot who, that it would have been a good idea, or it might maybe be a good idea for the future, if only players from the same time zone could play together in one team, so you only have to balance 2 time zones. I mean, that probably wouldn't solve the problem if people have to do real-life stuff at different times of the day, but would that be a part of a solution?
It could be a part of the solution, but it would limit the teams which could sign up very hard. So, for example, I couldn't play with Napalm in a game. But, it could help, but as I said, it's mostly a problem because if one is dropping out, some games can't be played. So it's part, but not everything.
So this tourney obviously wasn't as successful as you would like, but are you planning another tourney like this in the future?
Rainfart had the idea, okay, we want another tournament. I got damned by many people, and some already said it in the forum thread, that the idea is great, and it's sad that it somehow fails due to the limits. Well, time limit, people can't play, people drop out or something. But we really wanted to do another tournament. Maybe we will try it in a few months, but with maybe a bit more structure and some retweaked stuff, for example, map pool or checking that many teams, or making clear that teams should be able to play or should try to come from the same time zone. So to reach a higher level of, how to say this, to get more games played.
Higher level of appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you said at the beginning that this could be some kind of beta tournament, a test for a future tournament of this times, and as we all said, as we all agree, it is really some really new kind of tournament. This probably has never been there before, at least not in Subcom, and actually I've never heard of something like that in another game. Maybe it was, but it's a new thing in Subcom, and it's of course difficult to manage. So I think it would be now your turn to say, oh, people who are listening, just play your fucking games. And do you have anything else to say about the tourney, or?
First about the tourney, yes, it would be very nice to see actually a great success in this, of course. To see that people are really trying to play the games, playing great games, to see some great replays and of course great casts of this, and to see that it's a real success and encourage to make another of this. Because I hope that people really see that, well, it's not a tourney to be won by, let's say, the top 100 players, but to be won by a mix of players. A team which is, well, I don't know, maybe a team of friends, a team of players who like to play with each other. Something like this. So I really hope people can make this happen, to see, a second one, something like this.
Basically that the team everybody wants to win will win. So I think, like, you at some point you said that your only goal when you won the Revolution, not the Revolution tourney, they help me, Immortals trophy.
Yeah.
was to troll Lucian. So is that true?
Brain
your
Fart said
only goal was to troll Lucian, so he doesn't win another tournament.
It wasn't my goal. Brain Fart said this, and he said it right at the beginning when we signed up. Okay, I will win this, or at least I want Lucian not to win this. It wasn't the reason why I signed up. I said, okay, tournament could be very funny. 2 versus 2 be more fun than a standard 1 versus 1. Team games are often more funny, and we really put a lot of effort into the tourney and a real lot of preparation time. And yeah, we had a lot of fun in this.
Okay, so thank you for being there. And I will now hand over back to Gyle, because you all like the APC, the Asian Phoenix Cup, and Gyle and Napalm will now have a look at a game that is played on the Cold Place and played in balance testing. And after that, we will actually have a small talk with Pip, the lead guy of the balance testing team. At least I think he's the lead guy. And maybe talk about some things we saw in the game, or just talk about generic balance. So, Gyle?
Thank you, Sheppard. Hey guys, how's it going? Gyle here, and I've got the very lovely Napalm with me. How you doing, dude?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Seriously, no, people have been asking for some dual cast business for ages. They say, Gyle, why can't you get someone who knows what they're talking about to do it along with you? And I know you've done a little bit before, haven't you, with TJ?
Yeah, but that was once and it didn't work out too well.
Oh,
but
you're giving me confidence, bro. I like it. I like it.
that's great, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little bit more of a professional air about it. Have have someone on who knows what they're talking about. Obviously, we are watching this from a live replay, guys, so there'll be no variation on time, so it will be at the pace which the players are playing at. So it might be a little bit more relaxed than you're used to with the other casters and my channels and that kind of thing. So, but that's all good. It's late at night here, so it's nice for some reclining action. Anyway, let's take a look at who's playing here for the first ever FAF community podcast. Up at the top left for Team 1 in Ferrari Red, it's Mr. Smith, and I just casted a game with him on Twin Rivers today against Claugus. He did very well. Check it out if you haven't already seen it. Anyway, he's going Cyber in first air, potentially some opening bomber action there. Do you reckon, Napalm?
Yeah.
He's,
because with Cyber, you get obviously the option of the Jester. And Smith Smith with 2 P-gens, that means he's probably going for a Jester.
It does look like he is, indeed. 92% done as we speak. His teammate down here at the bottom left in Regal Purple, it's Tag Chosen. He's going Aeon, opening first land, second air. Top right for Team 2 in Mellow Yellow, we've got Voodoo. He's opening land, first, second air, and last but not least in the bottom right in Baby Blue, it's Kircher. He's going Fim, opening first land, second air. You can see Kircher's already funneling troops right across the bottom, but that Jester coming across the pond as we speak, coming straight for Voodoo's main base. What's his primary target here, do you reckon?
Oh, it must be engineers.
Wouldn't go in and try and assassinate some power, he goes straight for the engineers right off the bat.
The power is extremely spread apart. Well, not extremely, but it's sufficiently spread out, so targeting one for a long time would only take out 1 P-gen. And that would just be a waste of time. It's better to go after the engineers.
And with that Thistle showing up, he's going to have to relocate and find another target, going straight south to Kircher.
And now we're going to see Smith pay the consequences because he has no land units at all. So Voodoo is going to be rolling around with a few light assault bots on the top.
Yeah, so he's got one... what the hell? He's renamed it Freshie! There you go, a little bit of joke, a little bit of humor put into it.
He's renamed the other one Scruffy, so we've got Freshie and Scruffy. And Freshie is potentially going to get a kill here.
Yeah.
Actually, he most certainly will get a kill if Voodoo pays attention.
Yep, Engineer coming out to the back to go and grab that mech's probably not going to get that up in time, I shouldn't think. Meanwhile, at the bottom right, though, that Jester is making its way slowly through some of the mexes.
7 kills on this Jester as an interceptor. Actually, that's an interceptor from Chosen, so that Jester will survive for a while longer. But up to 8 kills, and Smith is losing engineers back at his main base.
So what's Smith's play here? You've gone for the Jester. It's working okay at a hampering technique, but you've got flares wandering around your base. What do you go for next at this point?
He really does need to concentrate on his land spam, and I think going for another Jester is a very bad idea, because he didn't do enough damage to Voodoo to get any sort of advantage on land.
And
So
he is indeed going for another Jester, as you say.
So he really does need to just concentrate on defense and hope that Chosen can make some kind of aggression against Kocher.
And it looks like that's what he's doing. Chosen moving his ACU out now, more towards the middle of the map. Going to be working on a little bit of reclaim first, picking up those mexes. Does he go all-out attack towards Kocher's base, or does he set up shop in the middle?
It depends. I mean, if he has an advantage already, as he does because of the Jester from Smith. The Jester from Smith really did cripple Kocher a lot, so Chosen could afford to just sit back and get an even bigger advantage. But he could also try to just end it now.
That's right, Kocher running 9 mass compared to Chosen's 15. We've got one bomber over the top of Smith's base, though, out for Voodoo, circling around, looking for engineers to kill, I guess. Smith throwing down more land factories. Interesting, Voodoo not electing to go for some power plants. Would that not be a decent tactic?
With a bomber it is, because you can damage more than one P-Gen at once. Especially since Voodoo had multiple bombers, and he still does have multiple bombers.
Yep.
Going after power would actually have been a good idea there.
Look at those templates for Smith. Those rings of P-Gens. That's unreal.
I think he made some kind of face there, but I can't tell now because the engineers have been killed.
Yeah, it's definitely an alien face. Nice little bombing run. It's a messed up face, pal. Get yourself to the doctor. But Chosen still on the move down at the bottom, still pushing his way right, picking up reclaim as he goes, taking a look at how these guys are doing on reclaim. Chosen sitting at 1913, Voodoo 2200, Kocher 484, and Smith 760. So certainly Chosen and Voodoo doing better on the reclaim front than the other two, who have suffered generally at the hands of their opponents. That Jester, like you said earlier, really crippling Kocher, and then those bombers coming out for Voodoo.
But I think in the process, Smith also crippled himself versus Voodoo.
Yeah.
Especially the second Jester. From there, really nothing could be done. And now Voodoo bringing his ACU around, and he's got Auroras in the water in support. That's going to be very hard for Smith to deal with.
Yep. And Kocher and Chosen getting some ACU loving going on down at the bottom. There's an awful lot of Zuis and Thams there for Kocher, jostling backwards and forwards. On my screen at the moment, we've got Tag Chosen down to around 7,400 HP. Kocher still looking good on about 10,000. But yeah, Voodoo parking himself right by Smith's edge of the pond. Smith looking pretty good in the air, though, over his base at the moment. Got a couple of inties out, surfing well, and a little bit of a Mantis push up top for Smith. If you get in here, there's not a great deal of PD or anything I can see in Voodoo's base. Just taking a look at what Voodoo can see. Very low on intel, as you'd expect, at 6 minutes 50. So
yes, but Smith has no reinforcements for these Mantis, so they're easily going to get overwhelmed by Voodoo, because it's extremely close to Voodoo's production. So the Auroras will be replenished very quickly. And that attack does not do any damage. And I have to ask you, because I'm extremely curious, what time are you at right now?
10 seconds past 7 minutes.
Oh god.
You way ahead, are you?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll knock mine up a notch. It's a very slick operation we're running here, ladies and gentlemen. It's how we roll. And Voodoo, having just taken out that naval factory of Smiths with their Auroras and that ACU, that's not looking good at all for Smith. He's not pushing too hard, though, with his ACU. Is he trying to prolong the game a little bit for our benefit? And indeed, I think that was probably what you were looking at earlier when I was talking about that little Mantis push. As Aurora's just wiping the floor with those Mantis as they come in. Mr. Smith saying in chat, "I'm dead." Well, it's not over till it's over, even if it's over. And another Jester out. That's providing pretty good base defense. It's just so costly, though, That is the problem.
Yeah, he really cannot afford to be making these gestures. Even ignoring the mass cost, it's 5,000 power per jester, and that's too much power to be spending on air.
Do you think this would have been a nicer matchup, perhaps, with Smith on the bottom facing off against Kircher?
I don't know, because I can't tell because Smith went for first jester. So
Yeah.
if he hadn't done that, it might have been a lot different. But now both teams are sending units to one side. So I mean, Chosen is sending units up, and Voodoo is sending units bottom to the bottom. I mean, so it's interesting why they're doing that. I guess both players feel as though their allies need help.
Yep. I sort of feel like as well, though, on the Cold Place, if you were to be situated bottom left as Cybern, for instance, and you were going Jester first, you haven't got kind of so much territory above you that you need to be concerned about with intel. It's just a straight run. Your opponent's directly in front of you, so you kind of know where you are a little bit more. It's harder for things like flares and stuff named Freshy to wander around the back of you and pick up mech skills.
Yeah, that is true, and if you look at the entrances to the pond, the bottom isn't as responsible for getting the reclaim in the water.
Yep.
Which is very important, by the way, and it looks like Voodoo really wants it because he's making a torpedo launcher. And Smith is going for Navy.
So indeed, Voodoo still throwing together torpedo launchers, so I don't think we're too badly out of sync.
So, if you want, I'll just pause mine. Tell me when you get to 10 minutes and 9 seconds.
10 minutes and 5 seconds at the mark. So, mark. Now 10 minutes, 9 seconds. There we go.
Yeah, it looks like we should be at the correct time now.
Perfect. I'm running +1 to try and keep up with you.
We'll make it +0 then, because I've been at +0 the whole time. So in any case, Kocher and Voodoo are making a great push against Chosen, who basically sent all his units to their deaths against Voodoo.
But it's not looking too bad up top now with that air for Smith. He's coming with some reinforcing Mantis. His Jesters are help tidying up those Auroras, but we've got a wave of Intis coming in as well for Voodoo. Gonna presumably primary the Interceptors first and then mop up the Jesters. It's not exactly like there's anything of value in there that they needs to hold on to.
And here come Interceptors from Kocher as well, so if we're gonna get a 4-way air battle, Chosen should really help out.
And there go the Jesters out of commission for the moment. And Smith and Voodoo, proximity of the water, very close indeed. And now Smith taking some torpedo fire on the ACU, full on in the face, needs to back up away from that.
And Smith is going to walk right underneath a huge force of Auroras and Blazes that's running straight at his base, and really, what can you do about this? I don't see much that he has.
Not a great deal, but Kocher down the bottom has looked healthier. He's on around 6,000 HP, a little bit above, but he's got enough there to tidy up those units. He seems to have the gun upgrade on him. Correct me if I'm wrong without checking the stuff.
Oh, he does.
Yeah,
you can tell just by the rate of fire he is.
And the enormous thing hanging off his arm.
Yeah.
But there goes Smith's naval factory. And
Smith reclaiming Auroras from under the water.
That's about all he can do at this point from that position. And I mean, that's a lot of mass that he's been. That's the second naval factory that he's tried to get up and in place, and it's not working for him at the moment. It's an awful lot of mass and energy that he can't afford to spare right now. But we've got T2 on the field for Chosen, some blazes rocking around down there, and we've also got T2 air as well. How does that match up against Voodoo's air? So he's running T2. So these guys all kind of progressing at the same sort of rate. Kocher actually still feeling the effects of that opening set of Jesters. He's still on T1 everything, and I'd be very surprised if that's not the same situation for Smith. Yes, it is. So it really is. I think a lot of this game's going to come down to how well Chosen performs versus Voodoo, but Chosen really low on HP, 2,600 HP, needs to get himself back into the water and avoid some of that fire. Grisly amount of units that Kocher's got on the field there, and he's looking a lot healthier, back up to around 11k hit points there. Do you say it's fair to say it's not looking good for Team 1 right now?
Oh, it's looking terrible for Team 1 because Chosen Control Cade.
Alright, you're a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah, just as I was about to say something meaningful.
So, what time are you at? Out of curiosity. Ah, no, there he goes. He just went up on mine.
Yeah, okay. This game is extremely over if you look
Yep.
at what's going on the top and where Smith is headed. So I mean that wasn't too bad with the cast. I mean.
Yep, not too bad. But Voodoo moving in now, the horde of stuff straight on towards Smith's main base. Very little Smith can do. He's been collecting jesters over on the western edge, but with swift winds flying above his airspace, they're not going to last too long, I shouldn't think. Knock it back up to +2 on mine, since this is certainly over. And now at the bottom, Smith emerging from the water to what is surely a glorious and noble death. Boom, baby! Down he goes. So that is an overwhelming victory in 14 minutes for Team 2. And I hope that wasn't too difficult for you guys to follow, with Napalm and I clearly being out of sync. It is one of the tough things, and this is why you don't see more dual casting going on, guys. People will say, well, why don't you just catch up with the live stream? Well, that's fine, but you would then, of course, miss the first 5 minutes of play, thanks to the automatic lag time that's in place on FAF, so people don't abuse the live replay system. So you can understand why it's there, but it does make co-casting exceptionally difficult. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. That's enough from me. And Napalm?
Yeah, whatever you just said.
Very professional. I love it. We're very professional here, and we're very sorry to see you go. Look forward to the next one, guys. In the meantime, as always, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle and Napalm signing out.
So actually I hope we could see some awesome balance things in this replay, but obviously the only thing we could see was that Voodoo should be nerfed, but none of his units. So probably we should just give Voodoo like half resources next game. However, I now got a special guest, the leader of the balance team and the guy that already did some important work on the last balance patches. It's Pip. Say hello, Pip.
Hello, guys.
So balancing is always something that really heats up people's minds. So why is this? Why do you think people always get so obsessed when new balance patches are about to come?
Yeah, balance is a difficult task because many possibilities are good, but in the end you have to choose one, and that's why many people get I don't know, maybe not satisfied. But in the end, the goal is to improve the game, no matter what solution you find. So that's what we are trying to do.
So what's the real goal for the next patch, for the 3.6.2.3, I think?
The next patch is a very, very big patch, in the sense that it will make NG mode the default game mode for FAF. So let me sum up what NG mode is. It's a mode that intends to fix two shortcomings of Forge Islands. The first issue is to make it possible to build multiple factories of T2 and T3 tiers. And secondly, the other fix is making engineer spam less efficient, or to give alternatives to engineer spam. So that's the main focus of the patch. But since it changes a lot of things, a lot of mechanics of the games, also balance adjustments are necessary. So that's how I would sum up the goal of the next patch. The main goal, at least.
what we heard about Ngmod is that Tech 2 and Tech 3 will be easier to spam. So does it mean the Tech 2 and the Tech 3 phase will increase, and or does it mean that?
Yes. It will be like this, the same way you can spam T1 units. You will be able to also spam or build as many T2 and T3 units with multiple factories. So that is a very big change, but players should not be afraid of that because there is often a bad connotation about spamming. But actually T2 and T3 units are varied. It's not just spamming one unit. If you can build many factories, you can also have more types of units on the battlefield. So it's not just mindless spam, it's more strategic. You can have real mixed T2 and T3 armies, and that's what's really exciting about integration of NG mode.
So the main advantage from having Tech 4 units was that you really can spam them faster if you have the mass, for example, from Reclaim. Will the ability to spam more Tech 3 units like Percivals and Bricks, for example, and also Harbingers change this? So will the Tech 4 phase be, let's say, less efficient? Will it more like that you build a Tech 4 unit just to support your Tech 3 units?
Not that it will not be that drastic change. I think, before it was much more efficient to just rush T4 unit because you didn't have time to have enough T3 units to counter them. With NG mode, you can have enough T3 units to counter T4. So indeed, if you send a lone T4 unit like a poor monkey load or an Isosa against a lot of T3 units, especially Percivals or Bricks, there will be a high chance that you will lose your T4. But if you escort your T4 with other T3 units, you will have a real edge against pure T3 armies. So, of course, it makes T4 less game ender than it was before, but they will not be useless, so players should not be too worried about it. But to prevent T4 to be too weak against T3, we also adjusted veterancy so they can survive a bit longer than they used to be in default NG mode.
So I have two more very specific changes I would like to ask you about. And the first thing is that the snipers get buffed.
Yes.
So is it possible now to really counter or at least hold with snipers? Or with Eon, for example, Eon doesn't have any really heavy bot against Percivals or Bricks? Or is it just like it is now that sniper bots are really very situational and that you can't really use them often?
The buff to snipers was indeed to make it possible to counter the heavy armored boats like Percys and Bricks. So it's possible to hold and even repel Percys and Bricks with snipers. But since snipers are very, very weak, you need other units. So I cannot tell you that snipers will own Percys and Bricks because they can't do it alone. You need mobile shields. You will need also not just snipers to repair these heavy boats, but also T3 mobile artists, which are really powerful. But I think it's really good for snipers because they will not be just the situational units they used to be. They will be much more useful. And I know it will take time for players to get used to actually use them. But I'm confident that it will make the gameplay richer at T3.
So a few people I talked to were a bit scared about our future Aurora changes. So the Aeon Tech 1 tank is, I mean, it's like now they aren't OP. Of course they aren't OP, they're probably even underpowered, but it still sucks to play against them. You always feel like losing if you play Aeon, even if you are not losing. So what exactly do you change to the Auroras, and will it make any noticeable difference if you play against it, or will it just that it feels better to use them?
Buffing Aeon is one of the secondary goals of the upcoming patch. So they will definitely be stronger overall. So with little changes here and there. For instance, Aurora will be slightly better, not too much better, because we realize that sometimes a small change can turn a unit that you build a lot into something OP. So the buff will be quite moderate. We buffed also slightly Obsidians, but we also realized that with NG mode, this unit became quite good, because you could have more on the battlefield. We greatly buffed the Blaze, which was arguably the worst
tower tank.
Yeah, the most underpowered T2 land unit of Aeon. I think it will be interesting to use them especially against Hoplites and Manguis, because the unit will be faster. It will also miss much less. That's always been one of the issues with the Blaze. It used to miss a lot of its shots. So not only did we buff the raw DPS, but also increased accuracy, so it will land much more of its DPS. So with higher speed and more DPS, it should be possible to counter Hoplites, especially with the help of shields, which are less demanding in energy. And since blazes and shields have the same speed now, you can really protect the blaze with shields and still keep the high speed. So I think it should be interesting solution against Hoplites. And for other purposes, you can use Obsidians. They are really powerful in the patch.
So maybe last thing we should also talk about is that not so many players are actually testing the balance patch. So why is this? I mean, everybody complains, or nearly everybody complains, but when it comes down to testing, there are only very few players that actually care about.
Actually, I think this issue is not that big as it used to be for the previous balance phase that was run 3 or 4 months ago. Especially because quite a significant part of the player base enjoyed playing NG mode. You know that NG mode was a featured mode for maybe 4 or 5 months, and it was removed when the balance testing mode was opened again, because it includes NG mode. So since many players enjoy NG mode, they actually played much more balanced test games than for the previous balance phase. So it's not that big an issue for this patch phase. So I think it's not that bad. On the other hand, of course, we would like to have much more games played on this patch. I mean, on this balance testing mode, to make sure the patch will be polished as possible. So I entice people to just try it out and make some feedback for what they feel is good, what they feel is bad.
If we are at feedback, so I mean, at the moment I think it's really the people that are not only playing balance patch to play anti-mod are more or less the top players. So if you're like a bit lower rated player, not really a really noob, like under 1000, but like 1500, can you really do something for the balance testing? Can you really judge if something is balanced or not balanced only from playing? Because even the top players are not always the same opinion if a unit is OP or underpowered or just right. So can you really say that if you're only a normal, average, or even a bit noobier player?
Well, I really think some players that are not above 2000 rating still know how the game is played, and they can realize if something is working well or not by playing, or also by watching replays. Like myself, my rating is probably between 1,200 and, if I'm optimistic, 1,500. But I do watch a lot of replays, and it's more with replays of good players that I can really check if balance is good or not. But some players can also realize it when they play, and of course post feedback. So of course we take into account the feedback we receive. Sometimes they forget something, like they have an idea and they forgot that this unit works like that, so it cannot be changed because it has other strengths, and they forgot the strengths. But sometimes there are good ideas that don't come from the top players, so it's always nice to have feedback from even the lower rated players. So people should not be shy and not post feedback if they feel they are not strong enough. It would be if they want you to say something that they feel is right in their opinion, they are entitled to post it in the forum. The forum is for that purpose.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people like to hear that. So, thank you for these information. Is there anything more you want to say, like tell a few people to do something?
Right now, I think the patch is pretty solid. I mean, it's not perfect, and the scope is limited, so what players can do is check the changelog, and actually, if they are concerned with something, try to test it. Because right now, we see more feedback about areas of the game that won't be changed because the pilot set some goals and said that outside of these goals, the game won't be changed. So we have more feedback about areas that won't be changed than for the areas that can be tweaked. So what could be good is that people try to, abuse some changes that were made. Like, for instance, there are some fears that monkey load can be rushed because the cost has been decreased. So I still haven't seen it in replays. So for me, it's not an issue, but this kind of balance change can be checked out by players. So what they can do is check the changelog and try different units or different buffs about units, and say what they think, or if they discover something that is an unwanted side effect, they can check it out. It's difficult to be sure that by changing something, we don't also create some other issue. We try to prevent that, and inside the balance team, we already corrected some things that, like we buffed, for instance, the obsidian too much, so we reverted some changes. So we do this among us in the balance testing team, but of course, all players can do the same and test, judging on the change log. Oh, I can try this monkey road rush on 10 minutes on such map, and we can check if it's possible or if it's problematic. That's the kind of thing that would be nice, but maybe it's too late. I don't know. Maybe the patch will be released soon, but it's never too late to give feedback. So please continue.
Okay, so thanks for your time, and everybody, thanks for listening to the first community podcast of FAF, and stay for the additional tracks, and we probably see you in the next episode. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here. Hello and welcome to the first FAF community podcast. And start again. See, this is what you don't see. I do 10 of these little things before I get it right at the beginning of every cast. All right.
Well, Sheppard, I'm not sure if it's a good idea to say do not join the Klingon chat in FAF Aeolus, because I think now people will do it anyway.
I was trying to fucking say it for like 3 different casts that he was in. And I was like, to mute his server. That's what I was calling him for like 3 casts, and then someone in the comments went, "That's SC account." I was like, dope.